Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on the Three Man Blitz. I'd just like to take a moment to remind you to follow us on Twitter at 3manblitz. Visit us at www.3manblitz.com. You can listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Breaker, and don't forget to view us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of the Three Man Blitz, where we're going to tackle the tight ends for fantasy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the top 10. Probably no need to go a little further than that. So before we get started on that, let's take our traditional shots.
Yes, sir.
Let's drink.
And of course we got Queasy, we got Andrew, myself, Jeremy.
I got my shot. PP'd. You know what I'm talking about?
Pre-poured.
Yeah, pre-poured.
Pre-poured.
I
You're
got
the
this.
worst about pre-pour. You never pre-pour, so I quit doing it. Because I was like, it looks stupid if I do it and nobody else is.
I actually did it because the bottle was hard to open, so I was like,
I don't want to struggle on the camera.
Oh, I have to say this before we take our shots. Our manager at work wanted us to use his zucchini in our advertisement or something. I don't know what's going on. It was a real weird statement. But he was walking around with his phone out all day saying, "Hey, did you guys see my big zucchini?" And he showed me like 4 times.
He asked me that at the end of the day. I was like, no, man.
So, Josh, this is to you and your big zucchini, I guess. It was a real zucchini. Let me say that. It was the size of his arm, but it was a real zucchini. It's not what you might think it is.
should have started that at the beginning of the conversation, but
It
not
was a real zucchini. It was a
Let's just
vegetable.
take these shots, boys. What do you say?
Do we really need it?
Man, that is just good whiskey.
2 minutes on zucchini.
And a goblet.
And we're not going to edit it out.
Let's go.
What are we doing here? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the share screen so we can see, so you guys can see our list.
Yes,
If
sir.
you can't see it, check out the video on YouTube.
Yeah, but for all those who are following us on podcasts, of course we're gonna rattle it off to you.
Of course.
So at number 1, I mean, like who else would you really expect? I think I kind of went against the grain with my number 1 pick, who was Mark Andrews. I just think there's going to be a lot of volume there, but Travis Kelce was our consensus number 1, and it's not a surprise. He's that guy for the Kansas City Chiefs. When they're in a pinch and Patrick Mahomes is being bull rushed by defenders, they're blitzing him, this and that. He doesn't have time to wait on these routes to like unfold and this and that. Of course, he's always going to hit Travis Kelce, his reliable tight end, like his wingman right there, and that's a lot of volume. And Kelce is a very good tight end. He's a very big dude, very big target. He's strong. He's got good hands. I mean, and he can also block when called upon. So I don't know what else you could ask for out of a tight end, but I really like Kelce for sure.
Definitely a reincarnation of Gronk. Great hands, great size, great route runner. Almost a guarantee in the red zone. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with Kelce.
Yeah, Kelce, I mean, you guys pretty much said it all. Dude's got huge hands. He can run the routes. He plays his body position really well so that, you can get him the ball, and he uses that like boxes guys out. I know you like to talk about that, Andrew.
Yes.
But Kelce does it real well. He's also pretty fast. You wouldn't think it. He's a big dude. But for tight ends, you really can't go wrong with Kelce, and I expect to see him go number 1 as far as the position goes with tight end. And don't second guess it. Take Kelce and count it as a win.
No, it's not something.
Tight ends.
It's not something you should really think too hard about.
No.
Really. Let me throw this at you, Jeremy. You said he had huge hands. What are they the size of? Like, what's in Kansas City?
I don't know. What's in Missouri? What do they have over there?
Did he say cactuses last time?
He said cactuses for DeAndre Hopkins.
That was a geographical thing, guys. Come on now.
Oh man, you were a little bit drunk. Don't lie.
I have been known to drink a little bit of liquor and beer on the show, and I rattle on quite often. So sometimes I don't know what I'm saying. So I don't know. I don't know what's over there.
How about the size of Missouri?
Yeah, there you go.
Hold on. Hey, Andrew Sherling, I know you're listening, bud. We're gonna need you to tell us what you guys have in Missouri because we don't know.
He's gonna say Super Bowl championship.
Oh,
A Super Bowl ring.
The size of Mahomes' check. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Jeez.
$500 million man plus. Gee.
yeah. Number 2, George Kittle. So it's funny that our top 2 tight ends, our top 2 consensus tight ends, are the were played for the 2 Super Bowl teams, and I think that was a big narrative going into the game. Like, how are these tight ends going to be the difference maker in this game, and this and that, and man, it was a hell of a game, man. I absolutely loved it. But George Kittle, man, he was strong all season long, and there were weeks that he had that were better than Kelsey. You know, they kind of battled back and forth. But Kittle, I think he's a little bit younger than Kelsey. So, you know, if you're looking at like a dynasty pick, I might go with Kittle over Kelsey just for that reason. But, I mean, these guys are like right there, you know, neck and neck, battling for that number 1 spot, I think, for sure. But George Kittle, he's very dependable. He's solid. You know, he's a great target for what's his face?
Garoppolo?
Yeah, Garoppolo. I forget about him. He's not that important.
Just call him Pretty Boy. Pretty Boy.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G.
Yeah, I like Kittle. He's going to get a lot of volume this season for sure.
Definitely, if not, he might even be their 1 or 2 wide receiver in a sense.
Yeah.
I don't see him huge. I don't see him huge in the red zone. San Francisco like to keep their field short, so it would be a lot of running and a lot of first down. So he has a great route running, and so he'll be one of those to guarantee first downs on that third down route.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Kittle, you know, it killed me watching that Super Bowl when San Fran went up. Actually, close your ears, Sherlin. I actually had San Fran to win the game.
Of course.
And it killed me because they didn't really utilize Kittle very often, and he's so talented. You know, he goes up and gets the ball. He can be double covered sometimes, but, you know, he slips. It's hard for defenses, you know. It's real easy sometimes for a tight end to slip out when they've been blocking all game, blah, blah, blah. But I just wish they'd thrown him the ball a bit more. But you can't go wrong fantasy-wise. I mean, he could be number 1. You know, a couple of these guys, like the 1 through 4, I would say, could be number 1 in the 2020 season. It just depends on volume, honestly. And Kittle's going to have his lion's share there at San Fran. I hope they run the ball a lot still and then, you know, keep drives alive so that he can get those balls thrown his way.
Yep. Moving on, number 3, we have Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens. And I said earlier that I had him at my number 1. And I think that he's just going to get a ton of volume this season. We saw how good he is with Lamar Jackson, what kind of chemistry they have. And, you know, this Ravens offense wasn't really known this past season for really just tossing that ball downfield. They did it in a couple of games against defenses that they could beat real easily, like, you know, going for the long ball. You're looking at guys like Marquise Hollywood Brown and guys like that, but they could really stretch the field. But that wasn't really the narrative for this season. It was run, couple of passes here and there, and a lot of that volume went to Mark Andrews. And I think he's going to continue to grow within the team and as a player. And I definitely see him getting so much volume that he becomes the new number 1 this season. I've got my money on him, so I hope that pays out. But you know, he may slip a little bit because his name isn't as big as some of these other guys. You know, you might see Zach Ertz go before him, and if that's the case, you know, you see these other 3 tight ends are gone. You know, this Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz, whatever. Then of course you want to go ahead and grab that guy up and get the value pick for it for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I can definitely see the volume with Andrews. Again, Baltimore like to keep their field short too with a lot of big running game. So I'm not huge on him in the red zone either, especially with 2 strong running backs now. You got Dobbins and you got Ingram, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So definitely first down, man, third down to get that first down. But you can't go wrong with Mark Andrews.
Yeah, so Mark Andrews, he's super talented. I know last year he almost had 100 targets. So with that high volume offense, that was nice. And he was like just shy 900 yards, I think, and he had double-digit touchdowns. So if anybody's sleeping on Andrews this year in fantasy, I think they're gonna regret it when somebody's able to value pick him. And like you were talking about, Andrew, he could definitely slip below Ertz. Ertz is a big name. And even Darren Waller came on the scene, you know, last season. and everybody loves this guy now. So I could definitely see him being able to get him somewhere between 6 to 10 because Gronk's back in the league too.
Exactly.
And so if that is the case, and a lot of people don't take tight ends very high, or they don't want to start the tight end trend. If you see him drop to you, go ahead and take him. I mean, he's talented. He's going to get you the points, and don't look back.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Moving on to number 4, we've got, as I just mentioned, Zach Ertz out of Philly. And I think the only reason that he really slipped down to number 4 is because of the threat of the other tight end. What's his name? Jeremy, you've got him on your list there.
Who'd you say?
The other tight end for Philadelphia.
Oh, Goddard.
Goddard.
It's Goddard.
Yes.
Yeah, Dallas Goddard.
Oh, yeah, he was the guy that got punched like last week. Something, it was a big deal. Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Dumb stuff. But, yeah, I think that Dallas Goddard eats into his volume a little bit, and that was kind of my issue with Ertz last year. You know, I really regretted missing out on him in the draft, and then as the season went on, I was like, well, Dallas Goddard, you know, they're running a lot of 2 tight end sets and this and that. They were real short on receivers, and I think Ertz was even injured a little bit last season. And Goddard snagged a lot of that volume. So, you know, I was kind of thankful that I ended up missing out on him in the end. But Zach Ertz is still a very good tight end. He's a big dude. When he goes up for those 50-50 balls, you know he's coming down with it. I mean, he's got very good hands, and he just has this unbelievable chemistry with Carson Wentz, and I think that plays a lot into it. But I think we could see him sneak back up to that number 1 spot like you were talking about earlier, Jeremy. But I just don't have my money on it this season.
Ertz, I can see him at 4 or below. He's very consistent to me. He's been on Philadelphia for a while, if I'm correct, and getting up in age, he's brought in competition. So I can easily see him dropping, but he has the talent to stay at 4 easily.
Yeah, so when you talk about Ertz, I mean, dude's his name's become very recognizable.
Exactly.
And, you know, it should be. In Philly, like you were talking about, he's got a good repertoire with the quarterback, and he's a very talented dude. He's even in those commercials now. You've seen those commercials. It's like the one of the credit cards or whatever. You see him and his wife. His wife's like a soccer player or something, and you see him like racing each other and everything. So his name's gotten pretty big, especially for a tight end. And I think it's well earned. He's a big dude, and he's very athletic. I wouldn't say he's the best type of blocker like you would say a couple of years ago with Gronk, how, you know, he was the best all around. He could do anything you wanted him to. Ertz will block, and I'm not saying he's a bad blocker. It's just he's more of a receiving type guy in my opinion.
Yep.
But he's definitely a good outlet, and like you were talking about earlier, Queasy, he could definitely be viewed more of like a receiver. Honestly, he'll go out there sometimes, and he can run real good routes. So.
Let me ask this of you fellas. How do you think about the chemistry with Philadelphia? And I'm saying that because, in a sense, none of the team has been together for very long because of injuries, even because of rookies like Sanders.
I'm not super high on Philly this season. I don't think they did what they needed to do as far as the draft goes, and as far as getting targets out there for Carson Wentz. Yeah. I think they're.
I mean, you know, that's what I was meaning, because Carson Wentz has been in and out, of course, because of injuries. Zach Ertz has his injuries. Sanders, of course, is, you know, just getting into the fold. It's just, you know, not a lot together in a sense. And of course, this pandemic, of course, didn't help that situation either.
Yeah, you're right, and that's something that definitely is playing into all of this. I agree, but I'm not super high on this season, bud.
Yeah, and when it comes to just the Eagles in general, like, you know, they're always a big question mark to me. Even when they like had that good Super Bowl run and all that, even then I was like, I don't really know what the Eagles got going for them. You know, yeah. I feel like their identity, I never really know what's going on. Maybe it's just because I'm not a big Philly guy. I don't know.
There was just something kind of magical about that season. You know, the way that everything kind of just unfolded and it all just kind of happened, and the Patriots fell in that final game. It was just something about it. It felt like what should have happened with Atlanta the season before. Like, it felt like we kind of got that revenge a little bit.
Okay, we're going there, huh?
I went there, man. I remember watching that game, and I was like, all right, here it is. It's in the bag. You know, it felt kind of the same, you know. up until halftime of that game. It was like, man, this is just something different. It's nice. It was that magical season for Atlanta. But that's kind of the same thing Philly had in what was it, 2017, and I don't see them repeating. I really don't.
And it's really weird, like that entire division just seems like, was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. I think it was last year when they were like vying to see who was going to win with like 8 wins,
Between
it
them
was
and
bad.
the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys,
Yeah.
I mean, they should be the favorites. Between them and Philly, I see Giants as rising rapidly. I like them a lot.
Yeah.
And then the Redskins, they got their whole name change thing going on, and they got a new coach, and something with Washington, it seems like they're doomed this season no matter what. So, I don't know with Philly, man. That whole division's weird.
Anyway, moving on to number 5. Of the Las Vegas Raiders, we have Darren Waller. Now, this guy, man, he was a sleeper for me last season, and he absolutely saved my team many a weeks. He had trouble getting in the red zone. He had a lot of targets, and he's one of these tight ends who gets targeted just right there on the 20-yard line right after kickoff, and he'll take the ball like 30 yards on the first catch. He's one of those guys. He's very evasive for a big tight end type player, and he was really, honestly, I don't remember if he was the number 1 receiver last year, but I know he was the best receiver on the team. I'll give him that 100%. And I really liked Darren Waller. Had he gotten the red zone more, I absolutely feel like he would have been number 1 on this list. But I think he went it was like a ridiculous number. It was like 9 weeks without a touchdown.
Yikes.
He was like the Julio of tight ends. Like he got the yards, but he wasn't getting targeted in that red zone.
Strike 2.
I was waiting for it.
I can, as I said about Ertz, how I can see him going down. I can actually see Waller going up, and because I think he will start making more completions within that red zone and do a lot better this year with him being more comfortable within that system. So I can see big things coming from him. He's shown that he's had all the talent in the world, great hands, great route running. So I can see him moving on up the chart.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's he bust on the scene last year. He was a good sleeper pick. He won't be a sleeper this year. Everybody knows Darren Waller. He was a great pickup. Off the waiver wire. He's young, he's very talented. He's a really good receiving tight end, exactly what you would look for. And, if you were one of these guys that's looking more at taking more running backs or receivers or trying to get your quarterback in when everybody starts that tight end trend, Waller may fall to you. And when he falls to you, that's a good pick for you. I think we're actually a little bit deeper in this position than we have been in years past, where I would, there for a while, it was like if you don't get the top 3 or 2 tight ends, you're kind of screwed when it comes to position. You could go 3 or 4 to 20, and it was just by matchups. And that's not really the case anymore. I think there's a solid 10 to maybe 15 guys that you're good with, or I would be with anyway.
Well, I'm saying last year and the year before, 2018, 2019, you're right. If you didn't get Kelsey, Kittle, or Ertz, you were doomed at the tight end position, playing week to week, and it was just a terrible guessing game.
Yeah.
But with that said, moving on to our number 6, another guy who produces, Hunter Henry of the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, Henry is injury prone, but as far as his production goes, he reminds me a lot of the running back Eckler, who also plays for the Chargers. Now hear me out. When he's on the field, Hunter Henry puts up like stupid numbers. And you're like, man, if this guy played like this every week, if he were actually healthy and came out here week in, week out, he would be like the number 1, like by far. But the past
I'm sorry, what kind of numbers?
Stupid numbers. Oh, now sound's done messing up.
But yeah, he's at number 6 with that injury tag on him, and it's a shame that we had to put him there. But man, he's really fast. Let me say that he's got hands and he's fast.
Yeah. I have again definitely injury prone. And every time he's on the field, he does produce. He's a great. For the past probably 3 years, I think he's been with the Chargers. He's been great, but always been injured.
Good.
Yeah. But I mean, he can stay healthy. Of course, I can see him running up the chart. But it's just as long as he can stay healthy through a full year and new quarterback there, new system a little bit. No kind of stress on them guys, so you can see some things happen out there.
Yeah, exactly what you're saying, Queasy. You got a couple of maybe not red flags, but something that you want to pay attention to. Like you said, Andrew, the injuries. You want to make sure he's healthy. You might lose him a few weeks, and then you got a new system, and then you got a new quarterback. Not sure who it's going to be yet. You got a pretty good strong indication it's not going to be the rookie, but if it is, I kind of hope it is, though, right? They usually use them as their security blanket in a sense.
Exactly.
And as I've been playing fantasy for several years now and just watching football, I kind of have a beef, honestly, with the tight end position in offenses, and that I feel like they don't use them enough. When Gronk was at his best, it was like finally a team's utilizing the tight end position the way that it should. You're attacking a weakness and a linebacker that doesn't have the coverage skills of a corner, and or the size. If you're looking at corner or safety, like there's always some kind of mismatch. And I wish they'd use them more often because they could be way better as far as attacking the fantasy aspect. I think we're starting to see that trend kind of go up on the rise. I hope it continues. But Hunter Henry, man, he's really good. I don't want to talk about hands with all of these guys, but obviously they have great hands, or they wouldn't be on this list because there's good tight ends in the league. But if they're blocking tight ends, which is a good tight end, you're never going to have them on your fantasy squad.
Exactly.
But Hunter Henry is really good as long as he can stay healthy.
And with that said, I'm going to let you actually spit off about our number 7 guy, Jeremy. I know you're really high on Evan Ingram. I know you talk a lot about him kind of being the cornerstone for this New York passing attack. Let us hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so cornerstone, maybe not so much, but they definitely need to use him more often. Evan Ingram's a guy that's he's been around a little bit as far as a couple of years there on the squad with the Giants, the football Giants. But I like Evan Ingram a lot, and I've had him on my squad, and he never really fails. He's pretty consistent, He hasn't really been your Travis Kelce or your Gronk of the past, but who has been? But Evan Ingram's never really screwed me personally. It's a weird thing to say, but he's never lost me a game.
Brought to you by Josh's Zucchini.
Right. But Evan Ingram, man, he's probably one of the more athletic guys that nobody really talks about. So I like Evan Ingram, and I really like the Giants. I feel like I'm becoming a Giants fan, which is weird. I don't have an NFL team, and I'm not going to say I'm a Giants fan, but I really like what they've got going there. They're younger. I
just heard the words, I'm a Giants fan.
No.
That's
why I'm not going to say I'm a Giants fan. That's what you just said.
But that's why it's more of an asterisk by it. I really like the Giants a lot, but I'm not a Giants fan. I kind of am. And they're not my team. How about that? How about that? That's an easier way to say it. I am a Giants fan. They're just not my team. I don't have it. I like the Giants a lot, though. I think they need to give him the ball more.
Number 8. Or do you want to talk about him, Queasy?
Yeah, just 2 seconds, man. Ingram reminds me of, what's his name? Reed for the Washington Redskins. Remember Reed?
Yeah.
He had 17 concussions. But every year it was always man, this is going to be it. And it'll be nothing. He has all the features, all the athletics, everything in, but nothing ever pans out with this guy.
Which really sucks for Jordan Reed in particular because he was really good. He was really good.
He was. And I mean, those 2 games he played per season, he killed.
He did.
So Evan Ingram, he's like that firecracker we all had on 4th of July that we was excited about, but just fizzled out. It was just so we got great hopes for Evan Ingram, but I just can't depend on him, man. He's real inconsistent to me.
Yeah. Now let's hear Andrew, who doesn't have him in his top. I'm sorry, he's number 10.
Yeah. That's just kind of my deal. I'm kind of with Queasy on Evan Ingram. I know he was dealing with an injury bug last year. I do agree with you that the Giants are on the rise. It'll take a few years, but I think they're going to get there. I think they're building all the right pieces in this little offense that they're trying to throw together. But I'm just not quite sold on him yet. Like, if he dropped to me really late, like, I would probably grab him in the Dynasty League just to kind of sit on him and see what happens, kind of take a flyer on him. But, I'm not Jeremy high on Evan Ingram.
Well, and I don't want to feel like I'm overstated here. Like, I'm not in love with Evan Ingram. I'm really not. Like, if you're talking Dynasty, like, I'm probably not looking at Evan Ingram, honestly. Anybody that has especially at the tight end position, has a history of
Injuries, yeah.
Like, I don't know if I want to look at him if I have, like, a Tyler Higbee or somebody, one of these younger dudes around that I could scoop up instead.
Exactly.
Jeremy says, I'm not going to say that I'm in love with Evan Ingram.
Well, I just want to put that out there because, you're putting it on me, but don't put words in my mouth.
Brought to you by Josh's Zucchini.
You're so stupid.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. Number 8, a guy who I think is going to be way overvalued this season.
Way overdrafted.
Tampa Bay's own Rob Gronkowski, the Gronk. So we all remember back when he was with New England how, he was just an absolute, a machine. He was a receiving machine. But like Jeremy, was talking about earlier, he's also that tight end that would, block and, put your defensive ends in the dirt and then still go up and catch the ball. He was just wild, and he was a touchdown monster. I mean, there's not a compliment that I could think of for a tight end that you couldn't give to Gronkowski back in the day. So sit on this for a second. He's been out of the league for a year, and he's also not playing with the same team. And he's also on a team that has a ton of receiving talent, including at his position with O.J. Howard. I really toyed around with putting O.J. Howard up here instead of Gronk. I don't know what exactly is going to happen, and people are going to say, oh, but Andrew, Tom Brady and Gronkowski, they have this chemistry, they have this and that. And I know that the chemistry is absolutely important. Yeah, sure, but Gronkowski's getting up there. O.J. Howard's quite a bit younger than him, and it's not all Tom Brady's show. The team has coaches. The team has other players. I struggle with Gronkowski. If he fell, I would grab him. But let people reach over one of these other tight ends and risk taking Gronk just because of his name, and you grab one of these safer guys, and you're going to end up winning the day.
I think Gronk is going to be great trade bait in the middle of the season, and I say this because I think the Patriots, not the Patriots. Wow, I think the Buccaneers.
I think
the Buccaneers, right? The Buccaneers and Brady will force feed him at the beginning of the season just to get Brady comfortable. It's gonna be a comfortable receiver for him. But again, they have strong wide receivers on that team, so they will take over. But at the beginning of the season, Gronk will get his catches and get his touches and maybe a few touchdowns. So he'll be great trade bait because at the end of the season, he'll definitely fade off.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if the situation ended up playing out like O.J. Howard and Gronk, like they see the they're on the field at the same time, a lot of two tight end sets, and where O.J. Howard gets a lot of targets, throughout the drive, Gronk kind of gets a more for third down conversions and maybe more in the red zone. Because I doubt Gronk came out of retirement to go down and block a ton. So,
exactly.
He's doing this for Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And you can't deny the hookup, the chemistry between Brady and Gronk.
Exactly.
They're boys, they're homies. So, they hang out outside of work and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And they've got the chemistry. They do, though. They've got the chemistry. So, of course, no matter what, with him coming out of retirement, if it was anybody else, I would say it's just probably going to be like goal line work, red zone work. But with Tom Brady, you never know. But he definitely adds another weapon, and you're right, Andrew. He's probably going to be grabbed way too early. People are going to be looking for him to be a la 2016, 2017 Gronk. Because let's not forget that even in his last season, although he was probably still around the top 5 tight end, he was nowhere near the like standalone number one tight end that he was a few years past.
Yeah.
Number 9, we have Tyler Higbee, as Jeremy was talking about here a minute ago, for the Los Angeles Rams. Now, he's a young guy. I think this is his second year in the league, I think.
Yeah.
And
maybe third.
Yeah, second, third. I think it's the second. But anyway, the Rams have really struggled a lot this past season, and I think that as far as his role in this offense, I definitely think he's going to be like the release valve for old Jared Goff. I think he's going to be the pressure valve there. Okay, well, offensive lines let me down. Oh crap, tight end Tyler Higbee, boom, 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 that kind of deal. He's under pressure a lot. They lost Todd Gurley. I mean, the Rams have just went like crazy with their money spending, and now they don't really have a whole lot of money to make a whole lot of moves, so you can't bring in a whole lot of receiving talent. I like Robert Woods, I like Cooper Kupp, all right, but I mean, you got to pay your linemen, and you're going to have to pay this tight end eventually. So I guess go ahead and use him while you can.
Yeah, they're not going to pay him. I don't know what the Rams plan is the next couple of years. Of course, they're trying to get rid of a lot of money, so I can't say them paying him. Higbee will have a decent year for his ranking right there. Hopefully, he will give you some consistency, but I can't see much out of him.
Yeah, so for Higbee, I just looked at it before my phone actually died on me. I think this is his 5th year in the league. Yeah, so this is a guy that looks to be to where he finally got his opportunity to start and made the most of it. And don't quote me on this. Like I said, my phone died before I really got to get into much. But Higbee, I know that he bust on the scene last year, sure-handed dude. He plays young, and that's probably because he's, been biting at the chance to get his opportunity, and he made the most of it. So I could see Higbee being one of these guys that continues that trend until his contract's up, and then tries to barter that into a nice contract somewhere else. Because the Rams seem to not want to pay anybody anymore.
Exactly.
And I'm looking at them and wondering what their overall goal is, because everybody assumes it's Super Bowl, and it should be. But some squads, like me and Queasy and Andrew, often talk about off camera is who's actually trying to win and who's looking at 4 and 5 years into the future.
Yes.
And the Rams may have shot their proverbial wad back in the day, and I don't know what they're doing these days. But Higbee does seem to be really talented, and I think he's going to get a lot of volume tossed his way. So if he continues to make the most of his opportunity when given to him, look for him to be a tight end that you could definitely take. And he might slide out of the top 10 as far as receivers taken. So he's another guy that might be a lower end tier 1, a really high end tier 2 tight end.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Rams shot their wad, brought to you by Josh's Zucchini. Number 10, Jared Cook, New Orleans. Now, New Orleans has had a problem with underutilizing their tight end the past few seasons. We all take the New Orleans tight end, no matter who it's been, and we're like, oh yeah, so and so's going to do great, so and so's going to do great, whatever. We're all grabbing New Orleans tight end because we like their passing game, we like their quarterback, we like what they got going on, we like their offensive line. They've got time to let these plays develop, so the tight end should be able to throw a pick and then go out for a pass. But that's not been the case. So like having Jared Cook at number 10. I think more than anything, it's kind of like wishful thinking. We're like, okay, it's the year. He's gonna, he's getting a little older, old Drew Brees. He's gonna have to rely more on the tight end, this and that. And man, I hope so, because Jared Cook is talented. I think he's gonna be a good guy to take kind of late. If you're getting down towards the end of your draft or whatever, and you're looking around and everybody else is over here high-fiving about their tight ends, this and that. You're scrambling, you're freaking out. Holy crap! Look, there's Jared Cook. You can throw him in there. He'll get you a few points every game, and that's about all I can say about him right now.
A great team to be on. It's a team that loves to pass the ball around. It's a team that loves to share the ball. Again, as you said, the tight end hasn't exploded on their team just yet, but hopefully this will be the year because he is extremely talented. But I would love to get a special shout-out to Hayden Hurst, who should have been on our top 10 from Atlanta.
I'm with you. I like Hayden Hurst.
But other than that, I think Jared Cook will have a great year.
Yeah, so Jared Cook's one of these guys that he definitely benefits from having one of the best quarterbacks of all time throwing the ball his way. He's not a spring chicken any longer. And if you're in a dynasty league, you may not be looking at Jared Cook. But if he falls to you, go ahead and take him because he's going to get his looks. So he's going to be one of these guys that's not going to be a consistent threat week in, week out. He's going to get games where he'll have 2 touchdowns, and then he'll have games where he may only be targeted 2 or 3 times. And that's kind of the bugaboo of the tight end position. But, when you think of New Orleans, most people like me think that, they're going to throw it around a lot with Breeze. So Jared Cook, he can be the recipient. He was last season. He saved me a time or two. And that is our last pick. And just a couple honorable mentions, like Queasy said, Hayden Hurst. Very, very talented dude, could easily be up in the top 10.
Easily.
Easily. Mike Gesicki from Miami, he could easily be up there too. He's extremely talented, a little sneaky pick. Noah Fant out of Denver. Austin Hooper from Cleveland now that Njoku's demanding a trade. Depending on where Njoku goes, maybe he ends up here. I like him. He's super athletic.
Yeah.
But, you got to be on the right team and the right scheme, honestly, to get it done.
That's true.
And I threw Darren Fells on at the end of my top 15 because, those targets got to go somewhere for Houston. And he's a very good – his ability to be a very good receiving tight end. He's just another one of those guys extremely underutilized.
No doubt. And being on Houston, too, I think that's a good fit, for him, honestly. That line is, I think, notably not great. So he should be a good outlet when he's on the field. You're blocking, you just kind of turn around, hey, here I am, I'm wide open. Just kind of toss it to him.
And O.J. Howard as well. Don't sleep on him. I think he'll have something to prove before the season's over, that's for sure.
No doubt. If you've got O.J. Howard and Gronk competing for, touchdowns in a good way, they're both getting them and it's like a competition, that's going to be really good for Tampa Bay and both of those tight ends. I can't remember having 2 tight ends on one team that were in the top 10. If you guys can remember, any of you guys listening, if 2 tight ends finished top 10, you let me know. I'd like to know who they were. Yeah. I don't think it happens.
So anyways, tune in next time. We're going to start working on our sleepers and our bust. And I think a lot of those are really going to be surprises for you guys. And we're going to be able to definitely go into more detail on those and tell you why we believe what we believe and what we're saying. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. And as always, go for 3.
Go for 3. Don't sleep on your tight ends. Don't sleep on them. Go for 3.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Queasy at RastaLion1131, Jeremy at CheckerboardJ, and me at Jedi Quarterback.